Hello, 8th graders. Welcome, future Bruins. My name is Susan Swisher. I'm the coordinator of the counseling department.
And I'm Tyler Fischels. I'm another counselor in the CCHS counseling department.
And we're going to be sharing some information with you today about coming to Cherry Creek High School and choosing your classes for 9th grade.
So the first thing we want to talk about is how CCHS is different from middle school. First, we have a bell schedule that's slightly different. We have a bell schedule that is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and we have an advisory schedule on Wednesdays, and you can see the difference here. Every student attends every class that they have on their schedule every day of the week, and then you'll have some off periods built in as well as a lunch. Okay, so as we are getting through the semester, you'll have either a period 4 or a period 6 lunch as a freshman or a sophomore. This will be randomly assigned to you by the computer after your schedule is built. We also have semesters at high school. We have semesters 1, where grades will go from August to December, and semester 2, where grades will go from January to May. We also have an open campus at Creek. As long as your parents sign off on the paperwork, students are allowed to leave campus during their off periods and their lunch. Coming to high school can be a tough transition. So we have plenty of resources and support available for incoming freshmen in order to make that transition a little bit easier. One of which is your Coming to Creek handbook and Bear Facts that every student receives. We also have the peer ambassadors, who are hand-selected seniors in the counseling department that are there to help students guide through whatever issues they might be having in high school. As mentioned earlier, on Wednesdays, we have advisory, and you'll be with the same advisory teacher throughout your time at Creek to build that relationship. The counseling office has our Creek 101 through 401 curriculum, in which the counseling office will be working with you in each of your years in high school. The check-in packets, which are normal, these are forms and check-in dates and times that are available on the website the first week of July, as well as the freshman orientation that we have every August. Some of the additional supports that we have, obviously the website and your Creek mail, you should check frequently for any updates that you might have. I advise all students to add their Creek mail account to their phone if they have that opportunity. Power School, most of you have already had experience with. That's where your grades and attendance will lie. Your Naviance account, and that's where we start to work on everything that's post-high school, athletics and activities. We hope that most students at Creek will participate in some sort of athletic or activity. And then the weekly Week at Creek email that is sent out of the different happenings that are happening at Cherry Creek High School.
This is a list of the different counselors that we have at Cherry Creek High School. We're fortunate enough to have 14 counselors. Each counselor has been broken down by the student's last name that you can see here. We also have 3 GT resource counselors. Although we do have 3 great GT resource counselors, not every GT student will be assigned a GT counselor.
So what do we do in the counseling office? We offer academic support, so students needing help with planning out classes in the future or finding support in the school, or maybe you are just needing some sort of tutoring. The counseling office is a great place to come. We also work with our students throughout that Creek 101 curriculum mentioned earlier for their career and college counseling. That's that postgraduate piece. And then when you think of counselors, normally you think of that social emotional support. We offer that as well.
Every year, the Cherry Creek High School Registrar's Office updates our registration guide. This guide can be found on our website under the Registrar tab, and every year it is great to reference and return back to this guide to understand things about your courses.
In that registration guide, you are going to find the required total amount of credits every student needs to graduate high school. You'll see all of those credits here on the left-hand side. We will continuously remind you of these credits throughout your time in high school, but we want you to have a brief look at it now so that you kind of understand that. On the right-hand side, you will also see the additional requirements that have been recently instituted for all students to graduate high school as well. You will need a certain score on one of these reading, writing, and communicating tests, and a certain score on one of these math tests. We don't want you to worry a bunch about this now. We will work on this throughout your time in high school, but we would just like for you to be aware. Here, you're going to find the Colorado Higher Education requirements, or we also call these the HERE requirements. These are the bare minimum credits required in the state of Colorado for students to get into public universities in our state. Now, these are just the minimum requirements. It does change from school to school on what they want. Most of our students shoot for a third year of a world language instead of just the one credit suggested here because of schools like CU Boulder that require that 3 credit minimum.
As you dive deeper into your registration guide, you will find that each subject has one of these flowcharts at the beginning of its section. In those flowcharts, the idea is to help you understand how classes grow through Cherry Creek High School. So you can see in math, if I start in CP Accelerated Algebra 1, I will move to CP Accelerated Geometry, and so on throughout my time at Creek. Also, behind those flowcharts in each of those subject areas are course descriptions. So you can see information about CP Accelerated Algebra 1 here on the bottom right, what grade levels it's open to, its prerequisites, what kind of credits it gives you, and a short description of the course. Another great reason for you to have your registration guide around when you are picking classes for your next school year.
Some of the other things that you have to think about as you're looking at your classes, the Cherry Creek School District Board requires all students have at least 4 core classes each semester. Core classes include English, math, science, social studies, and world language. Also, all freshmen are required to have at least 6 classes each semester. Some students will request 7 classes, but that is never a guarantee for any student. Again, please check those prerequisites in the registration guide as you're checking your classes. Freshman schedules typically include the following classes for each semester. You'll see, again, in most students, they'll be taking English, US history, physical science, some level of a math class, and the majority of our students also select a world language. Those students that do select a world language will need to select one other elective for each semester. Either that means 2 semester-long electives or 1 year-long elective. If you're deciding to not take a world language this year in your freshman year, you will need to fulfill either 4 semester-long electives or something worth that same amount.
All students who are scheduled to attend Cherry Creek High School should have received a registration form. This is a yellow colored form that should have your name printed on it as well as your ID number. Every student will need this form in order to choose classes at Cherry Creek. Choosing core classes. Your middle school core teachers have already made some recommendations about appropriate core classes for each of you. You might want to check on your registration form to see what the recommendation is. If you look at the top right corner of the registration form, you'll see a QR code that references the registration guide. We'll talk a little bit more about what the registration guide does, but that basically will give you information about the courses for which you have been recommended. You'll want to talk with your teachers about the placement in courses, and for sure, you'd like to talk about it with your parents so that you all can make sure that these are the appropriate courses for you for next year. If you have an IEP and you work with a case manager, there's a section for SAS students. You'll want to talk with your case manager to make sure that you have discussed appropriate courses for you for next year as well. And please be sure that you have your parent's signature on the back of this form. After you've talked over your courses with your parents, please make sure your parents sign the form so that you can move forward with the process when we return to campus in a couple weeks. Special circumstances would be for students who are taking some specific classes. If this pertains to you, you're going to check the box in the upper left-hand corner on page 1 of this form, and then please refer down to the bottom of that page and you'll see that big yellow oval on the right-hand side of the screen. If you're going to be applying for any of these classes, AVID, Student Government, SAS, School of Choice, if you're choosing a class that's not listed or you're wanting to take 7 classes, please check the appropriate box at the bottom of the page and make sure you've checked the box in the top left corner. World language is an elective option available to incoming ninth graders. Please look at the registration guide to review the course descriptions. Teachers do not need to sign off on level 1 choices for world language. However, if you are level 2 or higher, your current world language teacher must sign this form with the appropriate recommendation. Although world language is not a graduation requirement, most of our students take 2 to 3 levels or more to meet college admission requirements. If you've had a rough time in 8th grade and you'd like to do a year of high school before you take world language, it is okay to start world language in 10th or 11th grade. Freshmen are not eligible for American Sign Language. This slide reviews information about choosing elective classes. As you will see on your registration form, in the top box on the second page of your registration form, you will see a section called Elective Choices. All of the electives that are available to ninth graders are listed here in this section. You will want to go back and look at the registration guide to read course descriptions, as well as make sure that you've met any necessary prerequisites for those courses. At Cherry Creek High School, we are a large school and we have many, many different options for electives. So hopefully over the 4 years that you're a student here, you'll be able to take many of the elective choices that are available to you. If you are taking or continuing a world language class, you will please choose just 1 credit from this elective choice section, and that will be a total of 6 credits for ninth grade. So you'll have your 5 core classes, and you will need to choose 1 credit, either a year-long class or 2 semester classes, and mark that in this top box under elective choices. If you are not taking a world language, you will choose 2 credits of electives in this top box. It's really important that you provide some alternate elective choices, and the second box on this page gives you a place to list what you would be willing to take as backup options if your first choice class is not available. So please make sure that your choices in the elective alternate section are different from what you've listed as your elective first choices in the top box. So your second section should be what you'd be willing to take if your first choice is not available. Below this section, you'll see places for signatures. You need to sign this form. Your parent or guardian needs to sign the form. And if you're trying to take 7 classes at Cherry Creek, you need to have your current 8th grade counselor sign the form as well. Other things to consider as you're choosing classes. At Cherry Creek, we offer ninth graders an opportunity to take CP Humanities. CP Humanities in ninth grade involves CP US History along with CP English 9. It is a block class, so you would be in the classes for 2 periods, and the curriculum of the 2 classes is interwoven. So what you're doing in history is related to what you're doing in English. Another option to consider is AP US History. AP courses at Creek are college-level courses for which you may earn college credit. AP US History does require a placement test, which you will take this spring. It also requires that you take Honors English 9 concurrently. We ask that you please pre-register for CP US History, and if you are approved, you will be moved to AP US History later. Honors Spanish 3-4 is also a class that requires a placement test. This class combines 2 levels of Spanish in 1 year. We do ask that you please pre-register for the Honors Spanish 3-4 class when you're choosing your classes. Please be careful when choosing your electives. Read the registration guide and choose carefully because you will not be permitted to change your mind later. Also, your schedule will be randomly built by the computer over the summer. You will not choose your lunch period or your off periods. Those are determined by the computer when the computer builds your schedule in the summer. We do not have any control over making those changes in your schedule later. In the coming summer, most students will have a summer math assignment. Please check the Cherry Creek website. in late July to see if you have a summer math assignment. The math packets typically will take some time to complete. It shouldn't take too long, but it should just review what you've learned already and hopefully make sure that you are prepared for the 9th grade math class that you have selected. We would also recommend that you take a picture of your registration form so that you can remember what classes you signed up for. 8th grade information night is coming up soon. This is an evening for students and parents and will be held at Cherry Creek High School. This information will feature a welcome from the principal, information from the athletic director, the activities director, and then a question and answer session with counselors in smaller groups. On the next slide, you will see some information about important registration dates. Please look at that information, and if you need to take a picture so that you know those important dates, that would be a good idea. Welcome to Cherry Creek High School. Go Bruins!